Hi, I'm Hub Arkush for Pro Football Weekly, and every week here at PFW in our video studio, we run the No Huddle. We go around the office and ask most or all of our Pro Football Weekly editors a hot question and give them a chance to weigh in with their quick thoughts. The question or the topic this week: a week ago Monday, an unprecedented bloodletting, 7 head coaches and 5 general managers fired. As we tape, a week and a half later, only 2 of those 7 head coaching jobs have filled. Why is it taking so long for other teams to pull the trigger? And why aren't we hearing more of some of the former successful head coaches who've been on the sidelines interviewing for these jobs?
I really think you kind of have to look at each case individually, but in a situation with the Browns and Eagles, they pretty much had to relaunch their search. Both were kind of going for the big fish, trying to lure Chip Kelly in.
Most teams want the next Jim Harbaugh, which is why Chip Kelly was so sought after.
Well, in San Diego and Arizona, you had 2 situations where there were not GMs in place. I think they got to make that hire before they bring in their head coach. And Arizona obviously just hired Steve Keim, so I think we'll see them moving a little more quickly now.
Yeah, I think it has to do with just not being enough great candidates out there.
Too often teams rushed, they didn't do their homework.
Phil Emery has not had to do this before as a GM. Howie Roseman has not had to hire a head coach on his own.
You look at Scott Pioli, I think one of the reasons why he was fired in Kansas City is that he makes some poor choices in terms of hiring his head coaches.
I think the biggest reason is that a lot of the best teams and therefore the best coaches are still playing. You can't interview these guys who are in the playoffs.
A lot of great assistants out there that teams want to get to know. Mike McCoy, Tom Clements, Mike Nolan, Gus Bradley.
And therefore I think the teams are kind of wise to wait and make sure they have a full field of candidates.
I could see Lovie Smith getting a job. He certainly garnered enough interest.
He had an 81-63 record in Chicago.
Bills were interested, Eagles, Chargers supposedly interested.
The one that deserves it the most is Ken Whisenhunt. I don't even think it's close. If there's one guy that's ready to come in and right the ship and turn it around very quickly, I think he's most capable.
I've heard that Bill Cowher, is making noise like he might be interested in coming back.
I'll give you a guy who's been out of the league for 5 years now, Brian Billick. He is almost 20 games over 500 as a head coach, has a Super Bowl ring, has a bright offensive mind.
If you talk about guys like Gruden and Billick and Cowher, my guess is no. Unless the Eagles come up and make Gruden an offer he can't refuse.
A real dynamic that comes into play there. These guys all, have to have a pretty fair amount of power, and I think that that's an issue.
I'm going to say it's going to be a lot of new faces this year, whether it's NFL coordinators, some college guys that we haven't mentioned yet, maybe a special teams coach or 2. I think there's going to be some surprising names out there.
I don't know if there's going to be another retread type of candidate that comes up and gets a job. It won't surprise me. None of them do.
All right, guys, thank you very much. A lot of very interesting thoughts. I'll tell you, from my perspective, it's pretty simple. Not as high quality a list of applicants this year. There's a lot of good coordinators around the league, but nobody who's really jumping out for these jobs. The top college head coaches have for the most part said no and decided to stay in college. And those former successful NFL head coaches, the Bill Cowhers, the John Grudens, the Brian Billicks, maybe either a little too expensive or maybe they just want too much power. That'll do it for this week's edition of the No Huddle. Those jobs will fill. If you want to keep up to date on who, when, and why, you'll get the news here first always at ProFootballWeekly.com.